All right, take two. Take two. Man, what an exciting day so far. And look, so there's good news. Once again, we have been vindicated. Once again, the conspiracy theorists, aka common sense Americans, we've been totally vindicated. We've been totally vindicated. Donald Trump, the White House, the entire Trump administration, they've finally released all the evidence. They said, look, we can now confirm, and we have an official government website that has been dedicated to the lab leak, the true origins of COVID-19. And I have to tell you, not only is this website fairly thorough and also a big aha moment for a lot of people, but it's also really well done. President Donald Trump and his team, they not only get the information that Americans want and deserve and desire, but they do it in a way that's really, I mean, they've got an elegance to it. You can tell this guy is a luxury brand. That's what the United States of America is becoming, a luxury brand once again. And that's thanks to President Donald Trump and all the people that voted for him. But they say it's confirmed now. The Wuhan lab is where COVID came from, not the Wuhan wet market. It ain't from a bat. It's from a bunch of scientists. And that is, again, on the official whitehouse.gov website. That's from if you go to covid.gov, in fact, here, I'll show it to you real quick. This is the website that they released earlier today. This is the website that they released earlier today. I don't know why oh, I know why. I got to pull it in a little bit. Hang on one second. There we go. I want you to be able to see the full thing because it's a really great presentation by the White House. Lab leak, the true origins of COVID-19. And there's President Donald Trump walking with the truth. That's what's out. He's walking with the truth. He's showing us the way. And it says he's like the Mandalorian. He says the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 publication, which was used repeatedly by public health officials and the media to discredit the lab leak theory, was prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the preferred narrative that COVID-19 originated naturally. And this website is so thorough. There's photos, there's videos, there's the complete report. There's Andrew Cuomo even made the thing. And like I said, we'll roll through the whole thing here in just a minute because there's a lot we got to get to. There's also, there's also all this stuff about the shooter yesterday at Florida State University. I've seen various different narratives about who this kid was, but he comes from a bizarre past. His mother is a sheriff's deputy or works in the sheriff's office, and that's one of the guns that he used, which blows the whole lid off of the whole gun control narrative. If you steal a gun from a sheriff's deputy, gun control is not going to help. Donald Trump doubling down on his support for the Second Amendment, by the way, when he was asked about it in the Oval Office. You know that there's always going to be some reporter who's just going to jump in with the Second Amendment question whenever there's a shooting somewhere. And this reporter did not disappoint. I mean, I was disappointed by them, but, disappointed in a totally different way. And David Hogg has a new narrative for the Democrat Party. I got to tell you, the Democrat Party, they are digging themselves in deeper and deeper and deeper. Between David Hogg and the idiocy he's saying about the Democrats not wanting any more democracy, which is weird. I mean, not really. We knew that for a long time, but now they're actually openly admitting it. And this other guy, Chris Van Hollen, not Van Halen, Van Hollen. Chris Van Hollen went to El Salvador. Van Halen, we know, went to Panama. But Chris Van Hollen goes to El Salvador. He gets shuttered. He gets shunned. They tell him you can't meet with Abrego Garcia, MS-13 gang member who's been thrown behind bars in a maximum security prison called Seco in El Salvador. You can't meet with him. And Chris Van Hollen, I guess, calls in some favors, or I don't know what he does. He calls George Soros. I don't know who's behind it, but somehow he managed to get a meeting with this guy. And man, it was the worst thing he could have done. It was the worst thing he could have done. And of course, President Donald Trump and his team were all over it. We'll bring you all of those things. We'll bring you all those stories and more. There was something else that happened today. There's just so much news on a regular basis. I was putting together the show and I'm like, what do I want to tease today? What do I want to put in a thumbnail? Do I want to talk about the lab leak? Because the lab leak seems like it's pretty big news. Do I want to talk about Chris Van Hollen and going over to El Salvador, or do we want to talk about the FSU shooter? We'll probably, like I said, get to all of it. But before we do, a couple things. First of all, please make sure that you subscribe. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel. I did a speaking engagement yesterday for the Federated Republican Women of South Clay County in Florida. And man, we had a blast. It was a party. I drove all the way out to southern Clay County, which is over the river and through the woods. And I got there. It was a beautiful country club, a wonderful group of people. I had such a blast. And I handed out all my stickers, which have the QR code. So hopefully we're welcoming some new Kayetriots and some new podcast listeners and some viewers today. But if you are new, first of all, we appreciate you making it here. Next thing you need to do is subscribe. You want to make sure you're subscribed so that you always get the notifications. You want to make sure you're subscribed so that when we go live or we post new content, you're getting it. We want to make sure that if you're on Facebook, and by the way, thank you for our amazing Facebook growth. We're closing in on 2 million on Facebook. We're over 1 million. Our next goal is 2 million on Facebook. And if you like and follow and share this broadcast on Facebook, we're going to get there. If you like and follow and share this on YouTube or on Rumble, then we're going to continue to grow our numbers of Kayetriotic Americans who are out there fighting to put America first. Here in Florida, all over the country, really all over the world, we have Kayetriots. This is amazing to me. We have Kayetriots in every corner of the globe. There are at least 20 countries that I can count where we have Kayetriots that listen to this show and enjoy this kind of content. And we salute you from right here at Mar-a-Lago in beautiful downtown Jacksonville, Florida at Kayetriot HQ. We salute you wherever you happen to be. Something else I was looking at, which is interesting. We have the most the highest concentration of Kayetriots and listeners and Marquez Saves the Republic viewers is in Florida, which makes sense because that's where I am. That's where I've been broadcasting for years. We were on the radio in Jacksonville and Orlando, and we're very popular in Florida. The second largest, which was a little shocking to me, is in New York. But it's shocking, but not shocking. I always go, wow, why do so many people in New York listen to this kind of stuff? But again, the reason is because New York is, it's like Radio Free Europe. When you're behind enemy lines, you want to know what the resistance is saying. When you're behind enemy lines, you want to know what everyone else is doing. You want to hear a message of hope. You want to hear a message of faith and glory. You want to know that there is potentially a future where you're no longer living under the iron fist of Kathy Hochul or the other Democrats that rule over your socialist state. And so it makes sense that we have a lot of listeners in California and New York and other places like that. And like I said, we salute everybody. Just make sure you're subscribed, especially if you're listening to the podcast, so that you can get it every single day. Last night, as I said, I had the opportunity to go and speak to this wonderful group, and it wasn't just women; it was men and women. And I think the Federated Republican Women of South Clay. That's the name of the organization, but they have men in there too. There's husbands and stuff like that. And I went and I gave a speech, and we talked about Congress, and we talked about some of the problems with Congress and how to fix some of the problems with Congress. And then I got a lovely little gift. I got a pen, which is very nice. It's a lovely wood pen. Isn't that nice? And I can, use it to sign stuff. I can use it to, write stuff. I signed a lot of people wanted my autograph, which for some weird reason. So I did a lot of that, but it was lovely because not only did I get to speak and not only did I get a free, delicious seafood salad to eat, but I also got a pen. So that was very nice. If you'd like me to come speak to your organization, please have some kind of gift. Because now I'm going to be expecting it. Now I'm going to be expecting a pen or some other kind of token of your appreciation whenever I come and speak to your group. And we're going to be doing more and more of that, especially as the year goes on. There's more and more opportunity and necessity for me to get out there and speak to people about the problems that are facing this country and the solutions. And one of the big solutions is we got to revamp our congressional representatives. We got to make sure that we got the toughest. We've got to make sure that we've got the most MAGA. We've got to make sure that we've got the right people for the job. We don't need old retirees who are just trying to game the system. We need people who are going to go to Washington, D.C., fight big government, make sure that the power stays with the people, and do what's right for the United States of America, as well as their individual districts. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to get more into that as the year goes on. But I guess we should start with this COVID. This is the big news. So we're going to start with the COVID thing. So let me go back to this website. If you're interested in this website, by the way, later on, it's covid.gov. If you go to covid.gov, I don't know what used to be on covid.gov, but now it's this. And this beats everything. President Donald Trump presenting lab leak, the true origins of COVID-19. Now you can imagine this has got to make the Democrats just go ballistic. This has got to be making heads explode throughout the Democrat Party. You know that Dr. Fauci is clutching his pardon that he got from Joe Biden. Today, here's Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, he's got his pardon, and he's just like, I'm not letting it go ever. He's sitting there going, please, thank God I have that pardon from Joe Biden. No, it's mine. You're not going to get anywhere near it. This is mine, and I need it. Because President Donald Trump is clearly, I don't know if he's coming after him, but he's definitely letting everybody know that Dr. Fauci, there's some stuff going on with this guy. So we talked about the origin, and we talked about how Dr. Fauci pushed the preferred narrative that COVID-19 originated naturally. This is all, by the way, coming off of the government website. So fact checkers, don't even try it. Don't come at me. I know Facebook said they dropped their fact checkers. I don't know about YouTube and all these other ones, but don't be fact checking me on this because I'm reading directly from the whitehouse.gov website. So I have authoritative background to prove everything that I'm about to say. Number one, the virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. Remember, the narrative we always heard was came from a bat. Came from a bat in the wet market, a wet bat, I said. And that's not true because apparently this is a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. Number two, data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single introduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics where there were multiple spillover events. So one single introduction into humans shows that it's not necessarily a natural event because if it were, there would be multiple spillovers, and there's not. Number three, Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research, gene altering, and organism supercharging at inadequate biosafety levels. Number four, Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers were sick with COVID-like symptoms in the fall of 2019, months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market. Now, and I found the Jon Stewart clip. That was one of the good things about having the show, about the false start on the show. So this is this is a clip from, let's see, June 15th, 2021. Jon Stewart was chit-chatting with his old buddy, Stephen Colbert. And they were talking about, COVID and Wuhan and all that other stuff. And Jon Stewart is basically pointing out what everybody else already knows. And that is that, look, this is not an accident. This is not from nature. This was from the Wuhan Virology Laboratory. And now President Donald Trump backs that up with his website. Listen to this.
I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to science. Science has in many ways helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science. And that's kind of...
Hold on a second.
No. Now, listen.
It's coffee. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you.
So
what do you mean by that? Do you mean like perhaps there's a chance that this was created in a lab? There's an investigation.
A chance?
Well,
oh my
if there's evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do we do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think? And then they ask the scientists, they're like, how did this... So wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan respiratory coronavirus lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle. And you're like, no, the name of your lab. If you look at the name, let me see your business card. Show me your business card. Oh, I work at the coronavirus lab in Wuhan. Oh, because there's a coronavirus loose in Wuhan. How did that happen? Maybe a bat flew into the cloaca of a turkey and then it sneezed into my chili and now we all have coronavirus. Like, come on. Okay.
Wait a second.
What about this? Listen to this.
Wait a second.
By the way, Stephen Colbert is so uncomfortable with this whole situation because he's one of the deniers at this point. He's the mouthpiece of the left. He cannot spout the truth, because that's not his job. His job is to perpetuate whatever narrative Joe Biden and Dr. Fauci and everyone else are telling him to perpetuate. This is why this is such a great bit, because not only is Jon Stewart being totally honest, but he's making his best buddy, Stephen Colbert, totally uncomfortable. And Stephen Colbert thinks this is going to be the end of his show. But we continue.
All right.
John.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. There's been an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you think happened? Like, I don't know. Maybe a steam shovel mated with a cocoa bean. Or it's the chocolate factory. Maybe that's it.
That could be. That could be.
Anyway, so that was Jon Stewart saying what now President Donald Trump has basically published on the WhiteHouse.gov. By nearly all measures of science, if there was evidence of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced, but it hasn't. So based on science, a natural evidence or a natural origin, evidence of a natural origin would have already surfaced. It has not. And then they show, here's the Google Earth map of the Hunan seafood market and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a mere 7.5 miles separating the two. House Oversight Report is there. You can download it. They go through some of the House Oversight Report. Proximal origin publication. This is, again, the Dr. Fauci quote, gain-of-function research, a lab-related incident involving gain-of-function research is the most likely origin of COVID-19. Current government mechanisms for overseeing this dangerous gain-of-function research are incomplete, severely convoluted, and lack global applicability. So they're saying this is, if it looks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's a duck. And this thing's quacking. EcoHealth Alliance, Inc. EcoHealth, under the leadership of Dr. Peter Daszak, used U.S. taxpayer dollars to facilitate dangerous gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, after the select subcommittee released evidence of EcoHealth violating the terms of its National Institutes of Health grant. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services commenced official debarment proceedings and suspended all funding to EcoHealth. New evidence also shows that the DOJ has opened an investigation into EcoHealth's pandemic-era activities. NIH failed. This is my favorite part, by the way. This was such a great picture of Dr. Fauci. NIH's procedures for funding and overseeing potentially dangerous research are deficient, unreliable, and pose a threat to both public health and national security. Further, NIH fostered an environment that promoted evading federal record-keeping laws as seen through the actions of Dr. David Morans and FOIA lady Marge Moore. They then throw in, this is just great website design, by the way. If you ever see a good website, it starts with a big title and photo, eye-catching, gives you it's a real hook. There's I do a lot of marketing, and those of you that have come to my Dollars for Followers marketing class, you understand I know a little bit about marketing. It's a good hook. It's a good visual hook. It's a good verbal hook. It's 2 words. People get it, and then it introduces to you exactly what we're going. Then it breaks it up with a nice photo and interactive map, which people love interactive maps. More reading, but then you don't want to get too much reading, so then you go to you got a pull quote here with a photo of the executive grant of clemency from Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States, Dr. Anthony S. Fauci. And they even have right here a full and unconditional pardon for any offenses against the United States which he may have committed or taken part in from January 1st to 2014. Anthony Fauci pardon. What they're saying here is something that we've known for a while and that we've been saying for a while, is that the unconditional pardon that Joe Biden gave to Dr. Fauci for, just whatever. Here's a pardon, Dr. Fauci. Here, take this. This is your pardon. Oh, great. What's it for? Whatever you may have done. Thank God. You mean it covers everything? Yeah, it covers everything. Oh, thank God. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. The pardon for anything I may have done. HHS obstruction. The Biden administration's HHS engaged in a multi-year campaign of delay, confusion, and non-responsiveness in an attempt to obstruct the select subcommittee's investigation and hide evidence that could incriminate or embarrass senior public health officials. It appears that HHS even intentionally under-resourced its component that responds to legislative oversight requests. So the subcommittee was asking for the select subcommittees, like, we need this stuff, and HHS is like, it was here somewhere. Hang on, you know what? We just cut a bunch of people, so give us some more time. And they just obfuscated to the point where they were like, look, we have had it. You guys are guilty. EcoHealth obstruction. Dr. David Morin's New York obstruction. Dr. Fauci's senior advisor, Dr. David Morin's deliberately obstructed the select subcommittee's investigation, likely lied to Congress on multiple occasions, unlawfully deleted federal COVID-19 records, and shared non-public information about NIH grant processes with EcoHealth President Dr. Peter Daszak. New York, then they get into New York. New York's executive chamber, led presently by Governor Kathy Hochul, redacted documents, offered numerous illegitimate privilege claims, and withheld thousands of documents without an apparent legal basis to obstruct the select subcommittee's investigation into former Governor Cuomo's pandemic-era failures. And then they posted this YouTube video, which is the complete cover-up.
This is COVID-19 pandemic.
This is the complete
was one of the worst public health crises that our country has ever faced.
It's 2 hours and 14 minutes. It's like one of the complete subcommittee hearings.
We lost more than 1 million Americans to the virus, family members and neighbors, friends and colleagues, and millions more died around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic led to a once-in-a-generation event that not only threatened our public health, but also created unprecedented challenges to our economic and homeland security, as well as our very way of life.
And that's true. And it's not just a health thing. It's not just a cover-up. It's not just criminal. It's not just all these things. It's also negatively affecting our financial stability, our world standing, and of course, it's also affecting our military preparedness and our national security. And that's why it's so damaging and so damning. And that's why President Donald Trump and the White House released this website, World Health Organization, social distancing. This is my favorite. The 6 feet apart social distancing recommendation, which shut down schools and small businesses across the country, was arbitrary and not based on science. During closed-door testimony, Dr. Fauci testified that the guidance, quote, sort of just appeared. I'm not letting my pardon go. You out of my cold, dead hands. It clears me of any wrongdoing I might have done. Mask mandates. There was no conclusive evidence that masks effectively protected Americans from COVID-19. Public health officials flip-flopped on the efficacy of masks without providing Americans scientific data, causing a massive uptick in public distrust. Rand Paul was on my very show. We both got canceled because he said this very same thing. Now, years later, the White House is launching an official website that verifies that. So don't come at me, fact checkers. Lockdowns. Prolonged lockdowns caused immeasurable harm to not only the American economy, but also the mental and physical health of Americans, with a particularly negative effect on younger citizens. Rather than prioritizing the protection of the most vulnerable populations, federal and state government policies forced millions of Americans to forego crucial elements of a healthy and financially sound life. He gets into New York. He talks about Andrew Cuomo. COVID misinformation. Public health officials often misled the American people through conflicting messaging, knee-jerk reactions, and a lack of transparency. Most egregiously, the federal government demonized alternative treatments and disfavored narratives such as the lab leak theory in a shameful effort to coerce and control the American people's health decisions. Remember Joe Rogan and the ivermectin? When those efforts failed, the Biden administration resorted to outright censorship, coercing and colluding with the world's largest social media companies to censor all COVID-19 related dissent. Here's the complete 557-page House Oversight Report. Content on this page sourced from the House Oversight Committee website, a select committee, yada, 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 so on and so forth. So President Donald Trump releasing all of this officially from the White House to put to bed some of these false narratives, to show people what the White House is saying actually happened. And of course, now giving everybody else an outlet to study the truth, learn the truth, hear the alternate narratives that we've all been saying for years, but that have been censored by social media companies. Hopefully, by the way, I'm still on. I haven't even checked, but hopefully we're still on all of our social media platforms. We should be, because this is now official from the White House. And that's one of the biggest, and that's why Donald Trump wanted to put this out there. He wanted to fight back against everybody who tried to stifle and suppress the truth from coming out, or even Okay, maybe it wasn't the truth back then, but it was a different theory or opinion. Joe Biden was having none of it. Donald Trump's having all of it. And you can still disagree. You can say what you want. You can say, no, it was a bat. You're not going to be silenced. You're not going to be shut down. You're not going to be no one's going to tell you, you know what? You're going to have to go to jail now because you're speaking that you're just damaging yourself and others. None of that's going to happen. And that's why this is such a big, hairy deal. Donald Trump, again, this goes under the promises made, promises kept. Donald Trump promised to bring forward the truth. Donald Trump promised to, go after the people that misled you. Donald Trump promised to say, hey, here's what actually happened, and here's who lied to you. And it appears that Dr. Fauci, with his pardon in tow, is one of the worst offenders, according to President Donald Trump and his administration. Speaking of the worst offenders, man, I got to tell you, we got to talk a little bit about this Chris Van Hollen guy. Before we do, though, I do want to say thank you so much to everybody who has who's helped promote this show, who's been watching us. We have a goal, as we do with every broadcast, to get 10 super chats of $5 or more. And if we do, we will definitely shout you out. So if you're watching on YouTube and you want to leave us a super chat, maybe you have a special Easter message you want to share with people, or you know what? In fact, it was so funny. I was at the Federated Republican Women of South Clay meeting yesterday, and at the end of the meeting, because it's a typical meeting, they had the minutes, and we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and then there was the convocation, all that kind of stuff, a new business treasurer's report. But at the very end of it, they did something called Happy Dollars. And Happy Dollars was anybody who had $1 or $5 or however much money you wanted. They could give a $1 donation, and they got the microphone, and they could say whatever they wanted. They could make an announcement. They could wish somebody happy birthday. They could just give their opinion on whatever. It was called Happy Dollars. Super chats are a lot like Happy Dollars. If you've got $5 and you want to say something, or you want to wish somebody happy birthday, or you want to do a shout out for your business, whatever, you can do that with a super chat. If you're on Rumble, it's called a Rumble rant, but it's basically the same thing. And you can do that as well. So throughout the show, if you would ever like to throw some Happy Dollars at us and do some super chats or Rumble rants, we would love to have it. Also, speaking of Happy Dollars, we do want to thank our sponsor, Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group with Paul Stone, who can help you make your savings bulletproof by securing your financial future with gold. They're offering a free gold guide, which means no charge. It's like free, meaning you don't pay anything. You just give them your name, your email address, and they're going to send you their free gold guide to show you how to invest your money in a much more secure precious metals-based IRA or investment plan. How to protect and grow your retirement savings with a gold IRA is what you're going to learn in this report. How to safely and efficiently optimize your assets and savings for retirement with this gold report, with this free report. How to use an IRS loophole to protect your financial future and do that now. And for a limited time, they're offering up to $7,500 worth of free silver. And also a safe to keep it in. If you want the safe, they'll give you the safe. If you want them to keep it in their vault, they'll do that too. www.freegoldguide.com/KAYE is where you go for this. Colonial Metals Group. You'll see my photo. If you don't see my photo, you're in the wrong place. freegoldguide.com/KAYE. Make sure you click the link in the description of this video. It'll take you right there. Get your free gold guide today. And thank you again to Colonial Metals Group and Paul Stone. They're good people. They're good. There's good people and bad people. They're good people. Speaking of bad people, let's go to Chris Van Hollen show. Chris Van Hollen, I don't know about this. Like I said, I lived in Maryland for about 8 years. And I was familiar with Chris Van Hollen. He was just a representative back then. Now he's a senator. And he went to, gosh, I don't even know. He's hell bent on getting this criminal alien out of prison. And the first thing he did was he went down there. Okay. He went down to prison. Or he went down to El Salvador, and the taxpayers, we believe, paid for this whole trip. He gets down to El Salvador, he goes and he meets with the president, but the president's not there. Bukele is like, lo siento, no en la casa. So he met with the vice president. He said to the vice president, I'd like to see Abrego Garcia. And the vice president said, lo siento, Abrego Garcia is in prison. So no can do. And I guess he wasn't going to take no for an answer, right? He knew he looked like a fool. If he came back if he flew all the way to El Salvador to meet with this criminal MS-13 gang member, if he didn't meet with this criminal MS-13 gang member and he had to fly back, having made no headway. He knew he was going to look even more foolish than he does. So I guess he pulled some strings. He made some phone calls, whatever. They hauled this guy out of prison. They put some clothes on him. They gave him a Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl hat, which, I mean, if I were the Kansas City Chiefs right now, I don't know that I'd be too happy about that. I don't know what the Hunt family. If I were the Hunt family right now, I'd be like, yo, can we Photoshop the Kansas City Chiefs logo off the head of the MS-13 gang member who Chris Van Hollen is meeting with? But I digress. So they give him a hat, they give him a shirt, they put him out there, and they're sitting at some kind of restaurant, enjoying some kind of drink. Which, by the way, there's another photo. Which I want to find. It's of them having drinks, and they're having the weirdest thing ever. Hang on. Let's see, El Salvador. They're having some kind of drink. I don't know what it is. I heard it was a margarita, but I looked at it. It didn't look like a margarita to me. It looked to me like it was a glass of water. Here it is. Wait, is that it? Hang on. I'll find it. It would look like it was a glass of water. Yeah, look at this. This is the weirdest thing ever. So look at what they're drinking here. They're drinking glasses of water with something on the rim and a maraschino cherry. Now, I've heard people say they're margaritas, that Chris Van Hollen flew to El Salvador and had margaritas with an MS-13 gang member who was in the United States illegally. But I've had a lot of margaritas, been to a lot of Jimmy Buffett concerts, spent a lot of time at the beach. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. We have a Margaritaville hotel, by the way, which I've stayed at and hosted events at. You may remember my Margaritaville mastermind from last year, which maybe we'll do again. We celebrated Donald Trump's birthday, and we had all-you-can-drink margaritas on the beach. So it's weird to me because these don't look like margaritas. First of all, they're clear. And typically margaritas are green in color. Unless, of course, it could just be a glass of tequila. It could be like a margarita, hold the triple sec, hold the lime juice, hold the sour mix, hold all the other stuff that makes it green, and it's just a big glass of chilled tequila. Could be. But then the salted rim, okay, what's with the maraschino cherry? Because typically with a margarita, you have a slice of lime or, some other, I mean, I guess you could do a cherry, but it just looks weird. But anyway, they're sitting at this table and they're drinking these weird drinks. And Chris Van Hollen is so enamored. Look at him. He's smiling. He's so excited to be there. He's like, man, I'm here with you, buddy. I'm here with you. And I'm so excited to be here with you. And he's shaking his hand. And if you look, this is kind of funny. I don't know if I can zoom in on this. No, I can't. But if you look really closely, there it is. On his hand, you can see, let me turn on his hand, you can see, if you look really closely, there are tattoos on his knuckles, and these tattoos are MS-13 gang tattoos. So the Democrats are trying to make this guy out to be a Maryland dad. They're trying to make him out to be just an innocent victim. They're trying to make him out to be a pawn in Donald Trump's vicious immigration deportation game. And so they haul him out. They put him in front of the camera with Chris Van Hollen, and they take a photo of him, and nobody thinks to cover up his gang tattoos. Nobody thinks, you know what, maybe we shouldn't take the photo from this angle because he's got gang tattoos. Maybe we should get a little foundation or something. Put a little, what's the stuff you put under your eyes when they're puffy? Concealer. Somebody get me some concealer for his gang tattoos, because we don't want to basically prove the narrative that the president of the United States has been pushing, that he's a member of MS-13, which clearly now, if he's not a member, then he's got tattoos that show he's a member. But we know he's a member. We know he's a member of MS-13, and we know that because, well, Tom Homan, who was on, what was he on? Tom Homan was on one of those shows. I think it was Fox. No, it was CNN, pardon me. Oh, he was with Caitlin Collins, of course. Tom Homan was with Caitlin Collins, who I don't know why they let Caitlin Collins still interview people who are smarter than she is. I know she wouldn't. If they were like, look, let's let you interview somebody who's less intelligent than you, she'd just be talking to an empty chair. I get it. But listen to Tom Homan yesterday explain to Caitlin Collins how multiple people and sources and federal agencies and investigatory law enforcement agencies have deemed this guy to be an MS-13 gang member, and that really the only people that are still denying that he's an MS-13 gang member are the Democrats and CNN.
I've seen some people look at this and say they're worried that the stance of this administration when it comes to this is that if someone is deported by accident, that they have no responsibility for them once they are in the custody of a foreign government. What would you say to that?
Well, they're in the custody of El Salvador. He's an El Salvadoran national. He was born in El Salvador. El Salvador has him in custody, and El Salvador decide what happened to him. I mean, again, the El Salvadoran president made it clear he's not going to release him. So again, I'm going to go back. The DOJ, they can fight this out in the courts. As I'm not a part of that. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. So we'll let the courts, decide what the next steps will be.
Even though it was a U.S. immigration judge who said the one place he can't go is El Salvador. I mean, he could have been deported literally anywhere else.
Again, we can keep going back and back, but again, that was years ago. Country conditions were different. That gang no longer exists in El Salvador. He has been designated a terrorist since that time. 2 different federal judges said he's an MS-13 member. A police department said he's an MS-13 member. ICE data shows he's an MS-13 member. El Salvador says he's an MS-13 member. As you know, MS-13 has been designated terrorist. The case has the facts of the case have changed since that first decision. So again, I'll leave it up to the DOJ to argue that case in court, but that is where I stand, and that's my belief.
Yeah. So he's saying, look, everybody is saying this guy is an MS-13 gang member. Everybody. The 2 courts have said it. The ICE has said it. The police department has said it. El Salvador has said it. The only people that aren't saying it are the folks over at CNN. Stephen Miller, by the way, was also on Fox News. And Stephen Miller, I love it's Miller time, folks. Let's get our daily dose of Stephen Miller, because he seems like he's enjoying it, but he's also like, I still can't believe we're still talking about this. I still can't believe I have to come up here and tell everybody the facts of this particular case. And the facts of this particular case are that this guy belongs nowhere near the United States of America.
Sean, we've reached a point in American politics where we have one party led by President Donald Trump that fights for Americans, and a second party, I guess led by AOC, that fights for illegal aliens. But not just illegal aliens, criminal, wife-beating, terrorist illegal aliens. 2 immigration judges, as you said, found that he was a member of MS-13, as did the arresting police department here nearby in Prince George's County. On top of that, we have, of course, the protective order filed by his wife, alleging horrific, multiple instances.
There were 2?
Yes, of extreme, violent physical abuse. And then on top of all of that, he's an illegal alien and a member of what has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization. You have the entire machinery of the Democrat Party using all of its power not to fight for lower costs, as President Trump is, or better trade deals, as President Trump is, or lower taxes, as President Trump is, but to fight to bring this illegal alien with all those horrific crimes and allegations and history against him back to the United States, where he can do what? He can commit additional acts that threaten the safety of the American people. This is the biggest, sharpest contrast you will ever see between the priorities of President Trump and the priorities of the Democrat Party.
It has got to be, again, I'm no Democrat strategist, but if there's a Democrat strategist out there with a modicum of common sense, they've got to be slamming their head against the wall, because the visual imagery of Chris Van Hollen sitting with an MS-13 gang member. Hang on, where is it? Hang on. Why is it? Okay, there we go. Look at this. Chris Van Hollen is sitting with an MS-13 gang member. It looks like he's trying to hold his hand. He's not actually holding his hand, but it looks like he's doing his best. He's trying to reach out and hold this guy's hand. And they're drinking their fun drinks, and they're wearing their Kansas City Chiefs hats, and they're just having, and they're so, look, he's like, I'm here for you, buddy. I'm here for you. I want you to know I got you. Everything's going to be okay. He thinks this is the image that Americans want to see. He thinks this is a winning image for elections. This is going to sink the Democrat Party. Chris Van Hollen has just destroyed any chances the Democrats are going to have in 2026 or 2028. I don't know when his term is up, but it's probably not going to look good for him. Compare and contrast this, by the way, as President Donald Trump does, with the image from the Oval Office, where, look, he's with Rachel Morin's mom, Patty Morin. And he's with Rachel Morin's mom, and she is an American citizen, and she is mourning the loss of her daughter, and she is being consoled by the President of the United States, who's saying, I'm sorry that this happened to you. I'm sorry that you have to go through this. And he brought her to the Oval Office. He brought her to the White House to commiserate, to mourn with her, and to say, we will never forget your daughter, and we will not let this happen to anyone else ever again. We are going to get these kinds of people out of our country. Gang members, terrorists, illegal criminals. We're going to get them out of our country so no other mother has to go through what you did. And we're here for you. That's what Donald Trump's saying to Patty Morin. Chris Van Hollen is in El Salvador talking to a non-American who was just pulled from prison and is going back there, by the way. They're going to take this hat right off his head. They're going to be like, I hope you enjoyed your margarita. Get back in your cell. Chris Van Hollen is down in El Salvador talking to a criminal, illegal, terrorist MS-13 gang member saying, I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry that you're here in El Salvador. We are going to try to bring you back to the United States of America. Donald Trump and the Republicans are saying we want the criminals out of our country so that American citizens are safe. Chris Van Hollen and the Democrats are saying we want to bring criminal illegal aliens back to the country and put the safety of our citizens and their own family members at risk. His wife twice went to a court and asked for a restraining order. Twice she complained that he beat her. And now they're finally apart. She's not going to get beaten up by this guy anymore because he's in a full security prison in El Salvador. And Chris Van Hollen wants to bring this guy back to her bedroom. That's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats and Republicans. And these two images, when you look at them side by side, there's never been anything that tells the tale of these two parties better than these two photos. And if you're a Democrat and you were thinking of running for office, I'd wait about 10 years. I'd wait about 10 years till your party figures out what they want to be, who they want to serve, and if they want to be an American political party or if they want to be an anti-American political party. Because right now, President Donald Trump is fighting for Americans. The Democrats are fighting for illegal immigrants, criminal illegal immigrants, who they want to populate our country and threaten our citizens. It's really weird. Really totally bizarre. Again, I'm not a Democrat because I have common sense. I don't understand these people. I don't know how these people think, but Kaye, Sarah, as they say. And it's a great image. This image will never die. If this image isn't the end of Chris Van Hollen's career, then I don't know what is. I mean, it is Maryland, and Maryland is it's a very blue state. And they do have some weird people that run that state and who are in that state and who are elected to various different offices in Maryland. They're very blue. So anyway, we'll see what happens in the long run. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get to there was something else I wanted to mention too. Let's get to hold on, let me close this up real quick. Yeah. Let's get to what happened yesterday with President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Meloni. She's from Italy. Hang on, but we did get it looks like we got a Rumble rant that I wanted to mention because, as I said before, we appreciate I'm trying to pull it up on screen here. Let's see what we got. Let's see, it keeps disappearing every time I try to zoom in on it, which is kind of annoying. Here we go. Oh, no. Let me try one more time. It's from, here we go. I got it. It's from U.S. Abby Girl, who sends a $20, by the way, Rumble rant, which is that's very generous. We really appreciate that for sure. And writes, happy 75th birthday to Kayetriot Maggie 1874 on Sunday. Have a happy and blessed birthday. That's fantastic. 75. That's an amazing accomplishment and happy birthday. And thank you so much for that $20 Rumble rant. See, I told you, if there's anything you wanted to say, like a happy dollar, you can just throw us a Rumble rant, throw us a YouTube super chat, and we'll get your message on the air as well. We'll let everybody know what it is you want to share, so that you can be, so that you can be part of the show, so that you can support the show, and also so that we can get your message out there as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about what happened yesterday at the White House. President Donald Trump had Prime Minister, what's her name, Meloni. She's the Italian woman that Elon Musk, I think, has the hots for. She was at the White House and she was there to talk about trade because Donald Trump put these tariffs on everybody. And as soon as the tariffs went on everybody, all these countries started calling, going, whoa, hold on. We get it. We don't want the tariffs. We're good. Let's just calm down. Let's rein it in. We'll come to the United States of America. We'll sit down. Let's chat. Okay. Let's figure out a solution to this. And Giorgia Meloni was one of those. She showed up at the White House yesterday and she had a joint press conference with Donald Trump, and he praised her because she's one of the few conservative European leaders. And you can tell because, well, she's got the hots for Elon Musk and Donald Trump really likes her too.
It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Italy with us, Prime Minister Meloni, who's doing a fantastic job. I would say that she has taken Europe by storm and highly respected. Everybody loves her and respects her, and I can't say that about many people. And she's become a friend, and we really have a great relationship between Italy and ourselves. And we talked about trade. We talked about many, many things during our luncheon, and she'll be saying a few words, but she's a very special person, and it's nice to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and then and she said some nice things, but then the press, you know, the media, they start to jump in and they start to ask people. They start to ask Donald Trump stuff, and they asked him about the shooting at FSU because it was big news. I guess Donald Trump actually came out and he made a statement. He said, "Look, I just heard about this, so here's what I'm going to say." And it was, I think, the FSU shooting happened almost right before Donald Trump walked into this press conference.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I've been briefed on the Florida State University, Tallahassee, active shooting. I guess it's an active shooter. Fully briefed as to where we are right now. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place. And we'll have more to say about it later.
Yeah. And then later on in the Oval Office, he was asked about it again. And one of the reporters, I guess, suggested that there needs to be action taken on the Second Amendment, or made some kind of suggestion that the guns were responsible. And if we didn't have as many guns running around, everyone had guns everywhere, the guns. If that weren't the case, that this might have ended differently. And Donald Trump, of course, put the kibosh on that.
I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible, but the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's, you know, a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida, and we'll have more to say about it later.
What do you mean when you say there will be more to say about it?
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment, among many other things, and I will always protect the Second Amendment.
And that's important for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, very smart. He knows exactly where the media narrative is going to go. He hears shooting, he hears college, he hears multiple deaths. I think there were 2 confirmed who died as a result of their injuries, and the shooter was shot by police and is in custody. A guy by the name of Phoenix. I want to say it's Eichner or something like that. A checkered past. He's the son of a Florida sheriff's deputy, and that's where he got one of his pistols. But the narrative, of course, immediately is going to go to oh, this was, you know what this was? This was awful. This was an unhinged Republican white supremacist dude who got some guns and fired the place up because he's a Trump supporter and they're all crazy. That was what the narrative was going to be. And then the media and the Democrats were going to use this as a springboard to try to get some anti-gun legislation and dial back the rights of American citizens guaranteed by the Second Amendment. And Donald Trump knew that, so he came right out and said, by the way, just so you know, it's a terrible, horrible tragedy, but guns don't kill people. People kill people. And also, I ran on the Second Amendment, and I'm going to do my best to protect it, because really events like these show the necessity of the Second Amendment, not the necessity to get rid of the Second Amendment. But guess who popped up? David Hogg. Remember David Hogg from the Parkland massacre? David Hogg is now the vice chair of the Democrat Party. So when David Hogg speaks, it's not just David Hogg speaking, it's the Democrat Party's official stance. This guy there's the chairman of the Democrat Party, and then there's the vice chairman of the Democrat Party, and this is the vice chairman. So we can only believe that this is the actual verbiage or the actual belief of the Democratic National Committee. And here's their vice chair, David Hogg, talking about what he believes the path forward is after this shooting at FSU.
For them, because we go out there as Democrats all the time and say democracy is the most important thing. We have to defend democracy. We fail to acknowledge that this generation, Democracy is what put us through school shooter drills and school shootings. It's what's put us through the climate crisis and so much more. What we have to do is prove that democracy matters by standing up to the special interests that are killing the American dream and making our young people lose faith, not only in our party, but the future of this country. That is why we're doing this.
For you personally...
Okay, so he's anti-democracy now. David Hogg is saying democracy is the reason we have school shootings. Democracy is the reason we have lockdowns. It's democracy's fault. He's railing against democracy, and he is the vice chair of the Democrat Party. Does he not understand that as a Democrat, he should probably be pro-democracy? Also, it's a republic, but, that's neither here nor there.
For them, because we go out there as Democrats all the time and say democracy is the most important thing. We have to defend democracy. We fail to acknowledge that this generation, democracy is what put us through school shooter drills and school shootings. It's what's put us through the climate crisis and so much more.
The climate crisis, school shootings, it's all democracy's fault. And that is now, I guess, the official, we've been going out as Democrats and we've been arguing that democracy is the most important part, but democracy killed my schoolmates. And democracy kills people because of environmental hazards. Democracy is melting the ice caps, and it's going to cause massive floodings and tsunamis, and it's probably causing hurricanes and all this other devastation. It's all democracy's fault. Democracy is bad. I wonder if he's going to change the name of the party from the Democrat Party to the, Socialist Party. I think there already is one of those. There was another guy on CNN who basically said the same exact thing.
I'm going to call on Governor Ron DeSantis, the President Donald Trump for, this stuff keeps going on, right? But we're praying every day. Prayer is good. Spirituality is good, but, prayers don't do much, right? So, it's good for the soul, but is this still happening? I think it is. So, we need to make some gun reforms.
Yeah. This guy says prayer is good, but it doesn't do much. I know probably like 100 million Christians, especially this Easter weekend, who would argue that that's not the case. That prayer actually does a lot. That prayer is effective. That if we had more prayer, we might have fewer school shootings. If we had more prayer, we might have less crime all around. In fact, if more people prayed and more people prayed with other people who don't pray, and people prayed that prayer were more prevalent, then we might have more prevalent prayer and less of these kinds of events. Prayer is actually the most important thing when you have a school shooting, not the least important thing. And yes, there are a lot of politicians and a lot of public figures who go on the internet and they go on X and they go praying. Sure. That's not the kind of praying. That's not the kind of praying we're talking about. We're talking about actual prayer and faith and study and religion and thought and love and understanding of the difference between good and evil. That's what's going to stop school shootings. But this guy is like, look, I call on Ron DeSantis and I call on Donald Trump for gun reform. What kind of gun reform are you looking for? Here's the truth of the matter, okay? Let me pull up the truth here. Wait a minute, where's the truth? I think I closed my website. Here's the truth of the matter. This kid, Phoenix Ickner, who was 20 years old, okay, he grabbed his gun from his mama, and his mama is a deputy. Hold on, I misspelled Phoenix. Is a police deputy in Florida. Here we go. Let me see. Here we go. The 20-year-old Florida State University alleged school shooter, Phoenix Ickner, the son of a Leon County sheriff's deputy whose gun he used, is a Republican who quotes the Bible and made fun of anti-Trump protesters. Not trans, not an illegal immigrant. Is anyone at all shocked that it was a white MAGA? Now, this, of course, is not 100% the case, but this is true. He's the son of a Leon County sheriff's deputy whose gun he used. If you have gun reform, if you take guns away from people, if you make it harder for people to buy guns, if you don't allow guns on college campuses, or whatever it is, whatever kind of reform this David Hogg wannabe is talking about, whatever he's calling on Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump to do, if you take guns away from people, the sheriff's deputies are still going to have them. The sons of sheriff deputies are still going to be able to go into their mama's closets or their mama's lock boxes or their wherever mama happened to keep her gun. You're not going to take them away from the sheriff's deputies, are you? If somebody steals a gun from a cop, gun reform is not going to help. You know what's going to help? Probably prayer. But this guy disagrees.
I'm going to call on, Governor Ron DeSantis, the President Donald Trump for, this stuff keeps going on, right? But we're praying every day. Prayer is good. Spirituality is good. But, prayers don't do much, right? So, it's good for the soul, but is this still happening? I think it is. So, we need to make some gun reforms.
Yeah, we need to make some gun reforms. This guy has no idea what he's talking about, by the way. That guy's, we need to, prayer's good and all that, but it doesn't do much. We need some gun reforms. It's a sad story, but it's even sadder, the reaction that we get and how typical and how predictable the reaction we get from the left is. Scott Jennings said something. I don't know if this was about, I don't have this quote full. I think this was about, I don't know if this was about gun reform. I'm going to play it just to see if it was.
I see these pictures tonight and I think, boy, the party of women is really.
No, that's the different one. That's the one. That's about the guy, the immigration court. But look, that's exactly what we've got going on here today. We've got Donald Trump coming out of this and saying, look, we're going to protect the Second Amendment, no matter what. And you've got David Hogg saying that the Democrat Party is anti-democracy, which let's take a look at what the Democrat Party is now. The Democrat Party is anti-American. They're anti-woman. The Democrat Party is anti-law and order. They're anti-immigration reform. They're pro-illegal immigrant criminal. And they're also now anti-democracy. Oh, when they're anti-gun. That's the Democrat Party platform moving forward. They're going to roll into the next election still singing the same song and dance that failed them miserably in 2024. I'm all for it, by the way. I'm promoting it. I think it's a great idea that the Democrat Party continues to do this, but it's not a winning message. It's not a winning message by any means. President Donald Trump, by the way, continues to push forward winning messages of economic growth and economic stability and making sure that we are moving forward. He also is promoting his foreign policy, continuing to make peace, not war. In fact, that was one of the questions he got at the White House yesterday, which I wanted to highlight too, because I mentioned yesterday the New York Times article that showed that Donald Trump waved off war between Iran and Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu had a plan in May that he was going to bomb Israel, make sure they could not make a nuclear weapon, push him back at least a year, hopefully more. That was his plan. Netanyahu had a plan. He needed the United States to sign off on it. He needed our help. And Donald Trump said no. He talked it over with his advisors, his administration. He realized it wasn't the right way to go. They were going to go for diplomacy. Donald Trump, who the left has painted as a warmonger, a dangerous person, somebody who would create World War III in his first 100 days. That's what they thought. Donald Trump has done the opposite. And he was asked about that article. He was asked about that story yesterday at the White House during his press conference with Prime Minister Maloney. Here's what he said.
I wouldn't say waved off. I'm not in a rush to do it because I think that Iran has a chance to have a great country and to live happily without death. And I'd like to see that. That's my first option. If there's a second option, I think it would be very bad for Iran. And I think Iran is wanting to talk. I hope they're wanting to talk. It's going to be very good for them if they do. And I'd like to see Iran thrive in the future, do fantastically well. I know the Iranian people, they're incredible people. Always have been very smart, very energetic, very successful people. And I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt anybody. I really don't. But Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's, pretty simple. It's really simple. We're not looking to take their industry. We're not looking to take their land. All we're saying is you can't have a nuclear weapon.
Can't have a nuclear weapon. Nobody wants you to have a nuclear weapon. Even Russia doesn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. Israel 100% does not want Iran to have nuclear weapons. So President Donald Trump said, look, you know what? We're going to try diplomacy first. And, but there is an impact. There's an impact to these kinds of things, and we need to make sure that we're in charge. But it just goes to show once again that President Donald Trump is calling the shots, not just here at home, but abroad. The economic impact of Iran, by the way, because they are an energy center as well, was echoed by Chris Wright, who's the energy secretary. He said this.
Oh, there's been heightening tensions in the Middle East for at least 4 years now. I think the Biden administration's policy is let's appease Iran, let's just talk to them and they'll play nicer. It's had exactly the opposite impact. It's enriched Iran. They've stepped up their support. Look at what the Houthis have done, affecting global shipping by bombing shipping lanes. Hamas, Hezbollah were all emboldened to cause trouble during the Biden administration. I will tell you, I have been welcomed very warmly in all three of these countries, not just because of an honest discussion about energy, but because the U.S. now shares their strategic fear of a nuclear-powered Iran and how destabilizing that would be with the Middle East. All three of these countries stand firmly with the United States for the broader Trump agenda, which is prosperity at home and peace abroad. But that takes a strong, resolute America. And we've faltered from that the last 4 years, but I think they see America is back under President Trump.
Yeah, it's time to bankrupt Iran again so that they can't promote violence, whether it's in Israel, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's with the Houthis in Yemen. I mean, that's the whole thing, too. What happened with the Houthis in Yemen, the bombing of the ships in the Red Sea and Donald Trump going in with precision attacks, taking out the Houthis, that was not, I mean, look, that was not a major offensive. That was not anything huge. That was a warning shot to Iran because those Houthis were Iran-backed. The drones that they were firing at our ships in the Red Sea, those were Iranian drones. The missiles they were using, the weapons, the training, Iran. It was all their money. It was all their financing. It was all their backing. And Donald Trump said, look, you know what? Let's wipe these clowns out. We'll send a message to Iran, and then we'll go in and say, do you want that to happen to you, or do you want diplomacy? Israel just wanted that to happen to Iran. Understandably so, but Donald Trump said, no. We've sent them a message with the Houthis in Yemen. Now we're going to go in and talk, and we're going to make sure they understand that they can never have a nuclear weapon. And if they don't understand it through speaking, then there are other ways that we can make them understand that. And that's exactly what Donald Trump was trying to convey. Something else President Donald Trump did yesterday was he signed an executive order regarding seafood, which is one of my favorite. I love seafood, by the way. I don't know. This year so it's kind of funny because for Easter, we always have ham. You know, it's very traditional Easter is you get a ham. We've got the eggs that we use, the hard-boiled eggs that we crack open and we eat. We have other traditional, I guess, I don't even know, like green beans and potatoes, whatever. We have the traditional Easter celebration. And one of my kids comes to me and goes, you know, I'm not really a big fan of ham. And I go, wait, what? First of all, who's not a big fan of ham? Everyone loves ham. And he goes, I'm not really a big fan of ham. Can we have like some fish? Can we have some fried fish or something? And I go, you know what? I do love some fried fish too. So now I go, yes, we'll make some fried fish. We'll get some panko. We'll bread it. We'll deep fry it. It'll be nice and crispy. We'll have the ham and the eggs. We'll have the whole. And then my wife and I were talking and she's like, you know, I'm really excited about the fried fish. I go, you know what? Me too. I'm like totally, I can't wait for Easter now so that we can, you know, praise God and celebrate the risen Christ, and then have ham and fried fish and eggs. It's going to be amazing. But Donald Trump, he signed an executive order yesterday, which eased up some of the regulatory burdens that President Joe Biden and a bunch of other Democrats put on American Samoa and Hawaii and fishermen and women in the Pacific Ocean. In fact, I had no idea that we had this much regulation on these fishing waters. But here's Howard Lutnick in the Oval Office with Donald Trump and a bunch of Samoans, not the cookies, the actual people, describing what Donald Trump is signing with this executive order and what it's going to do for the Samoan fisher people.
You just heard us. The economic zone around Hawaii and Samoa is huge, and it's exclusively ours. So why wouldn't we have our fishermen fish there? I mean, imagine saying our own fishermen, every country in the world, they all fish the 200 miles off their coast, and we were stopping our own fishermen from going off the coast. It's totally the opposite of common sense. That's why President Trump has changed it. Now let's talk about regulation. If you're not even going to let them fish, imagine the regulations that have been written to stop our fishermen from just surviving and thriving. We have the greatest coast in the world with the greatest fishermen in the world, and we need to let them do their great jobs, raise and capture fish, bring them to our tables, have America have the greatest fish in the world, which we have, and then let them export all these other countries, right? They stop us from exporting. That's going to be over with your leadership and your trading policies, we're going to open all of these markets, and we're going to let our fishermen thrive and prosper, and we are going to have lower cost fish, more of it, and the freshest fish in the world. And this is just common sense for the United States of America.
I am so friggin' hungry right now. Listening to him tell you, like, we're going to have high quality fish. We're going to have fresh fish. We're going to have more fish. We're going to have cheaper fish. I'm like, this is, and I'm fasting today because it is Good Friday. I haven't eaten a thing. I've been chugging coffee like there's no tomorrow, but I have not had a bite to eat today, nor will I until tonight when I'm going to chow down on some fish, because just hearing them talk about all this fish, it's amazing. And President Trump, he signs this order there, and he talks about, then he goes, not just fish, but then he goes into lobster.
It's an easy one.
Very easy.
Hi, Mom. This is an easy one. This is crazy, huh?
About 80% of the seafood in the U.S. is imported.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? We import seafood, and we have the greatest coast of fishing in the world.
Okay, so in Maine, they do something similar. I think it's like 500 miles or something, some crazy thing. And Canada goes and they fish there. Other people fish there. Europe fishes there. The Maine lobster. You can't get Maine lobsters because Maine's forced to go for days out to some other area that's not as good. We have to free that up too.
We'll have that on your desk next week, I promise.
Maine lobster, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
You did it last time and they undid it.
Canada fishes there.
Biden undid it.
We're not allowed to. Yeah. I did it last time in Maine. And they undid it. That's why we have to stay president for a long time.
Yeah, that's why I would just say president for a long time. And this Samoan woman is there. I mean, think about this. This is amazing to me. I had no idea that Joe Biden had put such stringent, I knew there were regulations here on the red snapper in Florida. I knew that was a problem. That's something that we'd remedied. I know, though, that there were regulations on other places. I didn't realize how much 3 times the size of California was off limits for fishing near American Samoa and Hawaii. That's ridiculous. It's insanity. Maine, they don't allow them to fish for the lobsters for some stupid reason, probably the same reason that Gavin Newsom allowed LA to burn to the ground because he wanted to save the smelts. And so now Donald Trump's like, look, we can't even get lobster from Maine. 80% of our seafood is imported from abroad. We have, just so you know, we have so much coastline. Our country is not landlocked. We are, yes, we're top and bottom. We got a little bit with Mexico. We got some with Canada, but we have the entire Pacific Ocean, the West Coast. We got the entire Atlantic Ocean. We've got Maine, Florida, the Gulf of Mexico, Texas, the Bayou. We've got Hawaii, a state entirely surrounded by water. And then, of course, all these territories. And we're limiting the ability of ourselves to use our natural resources, not just oil, not just drill, baby, drill, but now fishing. Gill, baby, gill. I just came up with that. That's what I should have titled this one. That's what I should have put on the thumbnail. Donald Trump with a fish. It should have said, gill, baby, gill. Because we need to open up American fishing economies, not just so that we can have more money and less regulation and we can compete with foreign companies and not have to give our money to foreign nations for fish, which we should be able to get on our own, but also because fish is delicious. and I'm literally so hungry. Listen, speaking of Easter, a couple things have popped up. First of all, look at this. We got another Rumble rant from Carla Clennon, who dropped a $10 Rumble rant. Carla, that is very generous. Oh, that is very generous. Thank you. And she writes, Kayetriots have a blessed Easter or a blessed Easter, depending on how you want to phrase it. Carla, you have a blessed Easter as well. We really appreciate that. For Easter, by the way, Mike Huckabee, who I'm a big fan of, his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, is the current governor of Arkansas, a state that Mike Huckabee used to be governor of. He's now the envoy, he's the ambassador to Israel. And he's in Israel, and he went and he offered up a prayer. I think the timing is perfect during Holy Week for him to go to the Holy Land and offer up a prayer from President Donald Trump.
And I can't think of anything I'd rather do than on the very first day, posted at this mission, is to present a prayer from the President of the United States on behalf of the American people to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Amen. That is perfect. And Harrison Fields, who is getting a lot of FaceTime out there. He's one of Donald Trump's communications directors. And Harrison Fields was talking about something that happened, I want to say it was last year or 2 years ago. It was Easter Sunday. And it was when Joe Biden and his administration thought, you know what we should do to celebrate Easter Sunday? You know what would be great on Easter Sunday? You know what would be amazing on Easter Sunday to do? The most amazing thing to do on Easter Sunday would be to declare this a trans month of visibility. And Harrison Field said, look, we're not doing that.
He had the audacity to make Trans Visibility Month a proclamation on the day of Easter. I can tell you here, under President Trump's leadership, there will never be a Trans Visibility Month. And on Easter, we will be celebrating one man, and that is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Amen. Hallelujah. Listen, I hope you have a fantastic Easter. We'll be back Monday, of course. We'll have more going on. If you don't yet subscribe to our podcast, last week I did something really amazing. I released a Saturday podcast, and it wasn't a news podcast. It was kind of a story of, the evolution of this show and how we got where we are now. And it was like my most listened to podcast episode ever. It was called Why I'm Not on the Radio. And Why I'm Not on the Radio. It was the most listened to podcast episode we've ever had. It it catapulted us into like the top 30 of all political podcasts, and we're still way up there. So I'm going to keep doing that on the weekends. I'm going to release podcast episodes. I'm going to jump in, not necessarily with the news of the day, but maybe with something else that will capture your attention, or something about the show or politics or the world or my life, or something that I think you'll enjoy. So if you want to get it, subscribe to the podcast. If you're on iTunes, go to iTunes, subscribe. If you're on Spotify and they're not down, then by all means, go to Spotify and subscribe. If you're watching the video, absolutely, you should always subscribe to any of our video platforms, and make sure that you set the notifications as well too, because we are always coming at you with new and exciting content that we hope will help you out in whatever it is you're doing. Because look, you need to know that we're being attacked, and we're being attacked every single day. Whenever something happens, they're going to turn it into an attack on the right. We saw it with the FSU shooting yesterday. We saw it with this ridiculous display, this really weird, it's just a bizarre publicity stunt. I don't get what they're trying to accomplish with this Chris Van Hollen trip to El Salvador, but hey, we're going to let you know who's on your side, who's fighting for you, and who's fighting against you. We're going to let you know the new narratives that they're trying to use to paint Republicans and conservatives as bad people and paint Democrats and liberals as great people, when we all know that pretty much the opposite is the truth. Is the truth. We're going to make sure you know what they're planning and plotting for 2026. This is something I spoke about yesterday at the Federated Republican Women of South Clay Club meeting, was what they're putting together for 2026, the attack plan the Democrats have. They're eyeing the House of Representatives because they know that the White House is untouchable. If Donald Trump figures out a way to run for a third term, no one's gonna stop him, because Donald Trump's not gonna say, hey, I'm running for a third term, if he thinks he's going to lose. Also, there's not gonna be anyone else who can beat him. And if Donald Trump doesn't run for a third term, it's going to be J.D. Vance or Donald Trump Jr. or someone else that he handpicks, that he primes, that he gets America ready for, that he campaigns for, that he supports. Politically, financially, all these different things. It's going to be that kind of a person, and that person is going to walk right into the White House. So they've given up hope on the White House. The Senate probably isn't going to help them, especially with this idiocy that Chris Van Hollen did. So the House is their last chance. There's more opportunity for them to fight and win battles in the House of Representatives, and they're going to come after the worst candidates. And that's something that we're going to be prepared for. We're putting together a plan. At least I'm putting it. Look, and you can't just sit on the sidelines. You have to be an active participant. And that's something that I'm going to talk to you about a little later on, show you how to do, because it's a fight. It's a battle, as you know. Our republic did not get saved on November 5th. It gets saved every single day. Every single day that God-fearing, liberty-loving, freedom-defending Kayetriots like you wake up and learn and stay vigilant and fight back and make your voices heard. Every single day that liberty-loving, freedom-defending Kayetriots like you band together and continue to point out the ridiculousness and the idiocy and the lack of common sense of the left. And every single day when liberty, love, and freedom defending Kayetriots like you get up and say, hey, we're not going to stand for this. This is America. This is our Constitution. These are our Christian values. This is what we want. And no one's going to stop us. When that happens, then we win. And it's a daily battle. It's a daily fight. It's a daily fight to save the Republic. Have a very happy Easter.